Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Stellar Studio Sessions. My name is Richie Mashiko, and today I'm going to be talking about how you can create a killer Instagram content strategy. So, the first step to create a great content strategy for Instagram is to define your goals. So, what does that mean, right? So, Instagram has 1 billion monthly active users on the platform. So, when you put that into perspective, that means 1 out of every 7 people on the planet have an Instagram account. And what that means is that there are a lot of different accounts on Instagram, right? So Instagram accounts for sports, Instagram accounts for beauty and fashion and health and fitness and all these different niches. And they're accounts for niches that you wouldn't even think of, right? So what you have to ask yourself is, how are you going to differentiate yourself from all these accounts in your niche or whatever market that you want to go after? So I think when defining your goals, you can go from something very high level to something very, very specific, right? So high level things could be you want to increase your audience engagement. You want to generate more sales for a product. You want to drive more traffic to your website that'll convert people to your email list. You want to show off your company culture so you can get great hires, things like that, right? So let's take one of those goals and make that really specific. So if you want to drive sales of a product, what you could say is, hey, in 3 months, I want to generate $50,000 in total sales via Instagram. And what you could do is kind of reverse engineer how you're going to get to the number, right? So you could multiply the number of followers you have times your engagement rate, and you could estimate how many conversions you'll get off of the total engagement, right? So if you have like 100,000 followers and your engagement rate is 5%, which would be incredible. So that means in total you're getting a total of 5,000 likes and comments. So maybe 4,000 likes and 1,000 comments per post. And you could multiply that number by estimated conversion rate. So if the conversion rate is 1%, if my math is correct, that means out of that post, 50 people will purchase your product. So you could multiply that number 50 by the price of your product, and then you could that's how you could get to your target sales number, right? And as time goes on, these goals will obviously change, right? It's just good to have a sense of direction or a vision of what you want from the Instagram platform. So after you understand your goals and you clearly define them, what you want to do is understand what features Instagram has, right? So when Instagram launched in the fall of 2011, the only thing you could really do was post pictures. So you could either take a picture from the app itself or upload an image from your camera roll. You could apply a filter, and then you could post it on Instagram and share that with your followers. But as other social networks started rising up, like Vine and Snapchat and YouTube and all these other social networks that were taking market share away from Instagram, Instagram wanted to get some of that market share back. So they introduced different features to compete with those other social networks, right? So now Instagram doesn't just let you post pictures. Obviously, you could do video, you could do post stories, you could go live on Instagram. And the most recent feature that Instagram has put in their platform is something called IGTV. So where originally when people could post videos on Instagram, those videos could only be 60 seconds in length. But now if you post on IGTV, those videos could be upwards of 60 seconds. So this means that there's a lot of different types of content that you could post on Instagram. And the thing that you want to remember is that whenever Instagram rolls out a new feature, Instagram wants people to use it to compete with the other social networks. So, for example, if Instagram just rolled out Instagram TV not too long ago. So a smart strategy would be to upload as many videos to IGTV as possible, because Instagram is going to continually promote that content so that more people use that feature of Instagram, right? And even to this day, I think Instagram TV is one of the things that Instagram pushes a lot live. So whenever someone you follow goes live, you get a notification saying this person, this account that you follow, is live. So that means more people are going to engage with that feature of Instagram. And also, stories is still a really highly engaged feature of Instagram. So if you understand what types of content you could post on Instagram, you could kind of begin to get a sense of what kind of content that you need to prepare and share with your audience. So after you understand what kind of content you can post on Instagram, what you want to do is research your competition, right? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are certain types of content that are already performing well on Instagram, and you just have to emulate that content and put your own little spin on it. So a good way to find competitors is to go to hashtags, search hashtags. So if I'm starting a workout account, I would type in like bench press and leg press and squats, things like that, in the hashtag and search those hashtags. And what you could do once you get to those hashtags is look at the top performing posts. And generally, accounts that fall under a niche are going to post a lot of that type of content that you want to post. So once you see that the top performing posts, click on those accounts, and you could kind of scroll through their feed and see how many likes each post is getting. And this is a little easier to do on desktop, where you can say, okay, if this account normally gets 10,000 likes and 500 comments, and then all of a sudden you see a post that gets 20,000 likes and 1,000 comments, you could say, okay, this content, there's something about this piece of content that people liked and they engaged with. So you could look at a bunch of different accounts and just kind of go through and get a sense of what content performs really well, and that could kind of be the basis of the content of your content strategy. So after you've clearly defined your goals, you understand what features Instagram has to offer you, you've done research on your competition to see what content performs the best. Now you could really begin to plan your content. So we could just go through some of the types of content that you could think about posting. So the first type of content that you want to think about is pictures and videos with people's faces in it. Now, studies have shown that this type of content performs 38% better as opposed to pictures and videos with no human face in it. Right? So people like to see other people in posts. So for example, if you are a backpack company, you just don't want to take pictures of your awesome, sick, cool design backpacks and post it on Instagram. You want to take pictures of people using those backpacks and then post it on your Instagram. But just because there's no face in an Instagram post doesn't mean it can't perform well. So obviously, if you're a product company or a photography company or a photography account, then you could post beautiful content that people will really engage with. And a really good example of this type of content on Instagram was this company called Allbirds. So Allbirds is a shoe. They are quote unquote the most comfortable shoe in the world. And what they did, their shoes were super minimalist, and they would be of different colors, so black, red, blue, yellow, etc. Right. So what they would do is they would take a picture of the shoe on a backdrop of another object that was the same that same color. So for example, it was, if they had their yellow shoe, they would get a bunch of bananas and lay the bananas on the ground, and lay the shoe on top of the bananas, and then take an overhead shot of the shoe on the bananas, and then post that to their Instagram feed. And that was content that performed really well when they posted it, right? So another type of content that you might want to think about is text-based content. So it's no secret that one of the best types of performing content on Instagram are quotes. People love quotes. So as long as it makes sense for your brand, you might want to consider posting quotes. And those quotes just don't have to be of the quote itself. It could be a quote overlaid on top of a picture, right? So whoever said that quote you could type it out and overlay the quote on the person who said it, right? And another type of content that you want to think about is video content. So here are a few tips and tricks about what type of video content to post. So anything that's super viral, super cute, super funny, super like, oh my goodness, this shocking awe, that type of content really performs well. But if you're just doing a talk like I'm doing right now, what you could do is I would take this video clip and then overlay it, leave 2 white bars, right? So a white bar at the top and a white bar at the bottom, and then I would write some text telling what the video is about. And the reason why this works is because when people are scrolling through the Explore page or even through their feeds, they don't want to watch a whole video to know what it's about, right? This is clickbait. So if your video has white bars and with super clickbaity titles or captions, then people tend to engage with that type of content more. And another thing that you should think about when creating videos for Instagram is subtitling your videos, right? So sometimes when you're scrolling through Instagram, the sound isn't always on, so the user might not catch that first part of the video about what you said or what someone said in the video. So if you have subtitles on that video, it'll tend to perform better. And I know it's hard to do the closed captioning yourself, right? If you have a lot of time, then obviously you can do it by hand. But if not, there are other ways. So I think one of the better ones is this website called rev.com, rev.com. And what this website basically allows you to do is it converts the your video, and it gets the audio and it converts it to a closed caption. And you have to pay for it. I think it's like $1 a minute, but that's a super useful tool if you could afford it to subtitle your videos, right? And what you want to remember is that talking about all this type of content, you want your content to generate value and give value to the users, right? I think a mistake that people make on Instagram, especially product companies and businesses in general, is that every post is about them. It's about, hey, look how great my product is. Hey, buy this. We're having a sale. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what you want to do is you want to balance that content out with content that gives value to the Instagram users. So whether it's educational, it's funny, it's entertaining, it's inspirational, whatever value you can give to your users, the better, right? And you want a majority, maybe 80 to 90% of your page to be filled with that type of content, right? And the last thing you could think about is what aesthetic do you want your page to have? So that obviously should reflect your brand. So you could think of, is are we gonna have a lot of this color on our feed? Are we gonna apply a filter to all of our pictures? Is everyone in our feed gonna pose a certain way, right? So just think of a theme of how your Instagram feed is going to tie all together. So now that you've thought through what types of content that you want to post on Instagram, what you want to do out of all those different types of content we just over, face-centered content, product-centered content, text-based content, video content, you probably want to choose 2 to 4 themes and post that type of content. So for example, I have an Instagram account called Pages Process. And essentially, the goal of that account is to help people become more productive and achieve great things. So the types of content that I have are quotes, a book club, so I give summaries of self-help books, productivity hacks, and then morning routines of famous and successful people. So those are my 4 content lanes that I want to kind of stick to, and I just create content of those 4 things. So if you want to have, if you're a product company, you could have videos, right? That could be one type of content. You could have pictures of people using your product, and then you could have like maybe quotes, for example, if that fits your brand. So once you've chosen those core themes that you want to have on your Instagram feed, you want to then plan how much content you're going to be putting out a week. And this is where it could get a little challenging and a little overwhelming. So unlike search and YouTube, and platforms like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, they prioritize content that was recently created. So what does that mean? This basically means that you have to post a ton of content on Instagram to be relevant to your followers, right? So if you posted a picture on Instagram a week ago, your users aren't going to see that this week, right? Most likely, users are gonna interact with that piece of content only an hour after you've posted it, and that's it. So this means you have to generate content at scale. And so what I recommend for you to do on Instagram is, on your feed, you want to post at least 2 to 5 times a day. All right, it seems like a lot, and it might be a challenge to create all that content, but we'll talk about that in the next episode of the Stellar Studio sessions of how you could create content at scale, right? But in your feed, you want to post 2 to 5 times a day. IGTV, you want to post at least once a day. And you want to create 5 to 30 stories. Now that seems like a lot, but it's not as hard as it sounds. You could literally get your phone and start recording yourself and say, hey, what's up? Like this is what's going on, or take a picture of the lunch that you ate, and that's a piece of content. So you want to be posting on your stories 5 to 30 times, because it's way easier for people to post on their stories than their feed. So if you want to stay relevant in the story section of Instagram, you're going to have to post a lot of content on your story. And finally, if you have the ability to, you want to go live at least once a day on your Instagram. So when you go live, you want to do it at the same time every single day. So think about a TV show. You know, when I was young, one of my favorite shows was SpongeBob. And so SpongeBob was on every night at 8 p.m. It wasn't 8 p.m. one night and 7 p.m. You want to give that consistency to your viewers so that they could kind of prepare and set a time aside knowing that you're going to go live at that time. So now that you know how much content you're going to be posting and what types of content you're going to be posting, you should have a pretty good start of your Instagram content strategy, right? And over time, you're obviously going to learn different things. What works, what doesn't work. Do I have to tweak this type of post, or should I post at a different time? Or, things like that. And obviously, your content strategy is going to become more refined. But if you've done all the steps that we listed in this episode, then you should be off to a pretty solid start on your Instagram journey. So I think that's it, and we'll see you guys next time on the next episode of the Stellar Studio Sessions. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Bye, guys. Hey, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Stellar Studio Sessions. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to learn more about digital strategy, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.